In the summer of 2023, a vibrant young woman set out to explore the wild, unaware that the mountains would soon conceal her fate. A silver hatchback pulls into a bustling parking lot at the base of the Tetons. 19-year-old Emma Johnson steps out, her backpack almost as big as her excitement. She flashes a radiant smile and turns to a passing hiker. "Could you take a quick photo before I head out?" she asks. The hiker nods, and Emma poses in front of the towering mountains, the moment forever captured. Back home, her bedroom told the story of a dreamer and a planner. Maps of the Teton range were pinned to her walls, marked with sticky notes and highlighted routes. Her desk was covered in photos, snapshots from past hikes, moments of triumph and wonder. This trip through Paintbrush Canyon was the one she'd been planning for months. For Emma, it wasn't just a getaway, it was a journey inward, a way to reconnect with herself and the wild. The next morning she stepped onto the trail. Her steps were light, her heart full. Sunlight streamed through the trees as she paused to take it all in. The scent of pine, the sound of wind, the vastness of it all. She lifted her phone and sent a quick message. "Just started the hike. The views are incredible. Catch up later." Back home, the mood shifted from anticipation to quiet worry. As night fell, Emma's parents, David and Lisa Johnson, sat on their couch, eyes darting to their phones. Lisa's voice cracked the silence. "She should have checked in by now." David tried to stay calm. "She's probably just enjoying the scenery. She'll be back tomorrow." But morning came and Emma still hadn't returned. At the String Lake trailhead, Ranger Jake Turner pulled into the lot and spotted a familiar silver hatchback, Emma's car. It hadn't moved. He checked the trail register. Her name was there, but no sign of a return. "We have a missing hiker," he radioed in. "Emma Johnson, last seen yesterday morning." The search began. At the command center, Ranger Sarah Hall stood before a massive map of the backcountry, her tone calm but urgent. "We need teams on both sides of the loop," she said. "Time is critical." Search crews pushed into the wilderness. Eventually, they reached Emma's last known campsite, a small clearing tucked among the trees. Her tent was still standing, neat, untouched. But something was off. Her main backpack was gone. "Why would she leave her gear behind?" one ranger asked, puzzled. "This doesn't look right." The discovery only deepened the mystery. Weeks passed, then months. The case began to fade, until a strange discovery changed everything. High above the forest floor, Ranger Tom Williams was conducting a routine eagle nesting survey. He scaled a rocky ledge, scanning the cliffs. That's when he saw it. Nestled in a massive eagle's nest was something that didn't belong. A tattered piece of fabric, and a weather-worn photo of a young woman smiling at the camera. "What in the world is that?" he whispered, leaning closer. It was Emma's face. The case was no longer just a disappearance. It had become something far more chilling. Back at the investigation office, detectives gathered around a table piled with evidence. Maps, photos, the contents of Emma's campsite. And now, the strange items pulled from the eagle's nest. "We need to consider every possibility," said Detective Miller, his voice low and serious. "This isn't just a missing persons case anymore." Word of Emma's disappearance had spread far beyond the canyon. That night, the local community gathered in a quiet town hall, faces tight with worry. The tension in the air was impossible to ignore. In the front row, David and Lisa Johnson sat together, visibly shaken, clinging to hope. David stood and addressed the crowd, voice trembling. "We just want our daughter back. Please, help us find her." Meanwhile, search teams pushed deeper into the rugged wilds of Paintbrush Canyon. They called Emma's name over and over, but only silence answered. Days turned into weeks, and as hope began to fade, the mission shifted, from a rescue to a quest for answers. A quest that would soon unearth dark secrets, long hidden in the shadows of the mountains. Then, the discovery. Still shaken from his first find, Ranger Williams contacted the authorities. The worn photo retrieved from the eagle's nest was sent to Emma's parents. It was undeniably her. It reignited the search, but it also raised something else. Dread. What was Emma's photo doing in an eagle's nest? And what else might be out there? As investigators pieced together a timeline, whispers of something more sinister began to surface. The case reached court. A trial was held, drawing intense public attention. Inside the packed courtroom, David and Lisa watched with heavy hearts as a potential suspect was named, someone reportedly seen near the trail the day Emma vanished. The prosecutor's voice rang clear. "Ladies and gentlemen, we believe this man was involved in Emma Johnson's disappearance." Still, without a body, without definitive proof, the case remained riddled with uncertainty. Later that month, the community gathered again, this time at a scenic overlook above the Teton range. It was a memorial service for Emma. Friends, family, even strangers came to share memories, laughter, and tears. Lisa stepped forward, her voice cracking. "Emma loved these mountains. We won't stop looking for her." But just as the case seemed to be slipping into cold files, something else surfaced. Ranger Williams returned to the remote eagle's nest, determined to search again. This time, he found something buried beneath twigs and feathers, a small, scratched-up cell phone. He froze, heart pounding. "What is this?" he whispered, brushing off the dirt. A cell phone, weather-beaten but intact, Emma's model. Ranger Williams's voice cut through the radio static, sharp and urgent. "This is Ranger Williams. I found something significant in the eagle's nest, requesting immediate backup and a forensic team." Back at the command center, the energy shifted. Maps were pulled up, radios crackled, teams snapped into motion. Ranger Sarah Hall stood at the front, briefing the room with rare optimism. "We may finally have a lead. This phone could hold the key to Emma's disappearance." At the forensic lab, specialists moved quickly, gloves on, tools ready. Their faces were tight with focus. The phone was fragile, scratched and weather-worn, but it still held power. Possibly, it still held secrets. "We'll need to see if we can access any messages or photos from the last known activity," said one of the technicians. Outside, search teams once again took to the wild. They swept through steep ridges and hidden paths, areas they'd already searched before, but now with renewed purpose. The discovery of the phone had reignited the search, but as investigators dug deeper, the truth began to shift. Back inside the command center, the forensic team gathered to present their findings. The room fell silent. "We recovered a few messages and some photos," the technician said, eyes scanning the display. "The last activity was just hours before she disappeared." A faint smile tugged at Ranger Hall's lips. "Let's see what Emma was up to." A large screen lit up with recovered content, blurry selfies, pictures of the trail, and one final message. It was sent to someone labeled Alex. "Can't wait to see you. I'll be at the campsite by 5 p.m. Bring the gear." A heavy silence followed. Who was Alex? And what role had he played in Emma's final hours? The investigation turned sharply. Soon after, Ranger Hall met with David and Lisa at a quiet local cafe. Her tone was careful but hopeful. Lisa leaned in. "Is there any chance Alex could help us find her?" David's jaw tightened. "We need to find out who he is." That same afternoon, the scene shifted to a small apartment just outside Jackson Hole. A young man sat at a cluttered desk, eyes fixed on his phone. The name Alex lit up the screen. There was a knock at the door. "Who is it?" he asked, voice low. The door creaked open. "Alex," said Ranger Hall, stepping inside. "We need to talk." Moments later, they sat in a parked SUV. The mood was tense. Ranger Hall's voice cut through the quiet. "We found Emma's phone. You were the last person she contacted. What do you know?" Alex looked away, his fingers trembling. I didn't think she'd go alone," he said. "We had plans, but she said she wanted to hike by herself." In a quiet park, months before she vanished, Emma and Alex shared laughter beneath the shade of tall pines. They leaned into a shared map, their bond clear, even if unspoken. "I just need to clear my head," Emma said, smiling. "The mountains will help." Back in the present, Alex sat at his desk, guilt in his eyes. His voice trembled. "I texted her a few times that day," he said softly, "but she never replied. I thought she was just enjoying the trip. The trail search intensified. Ranger Turner led a fresh team into the backcountry, targeting the zone where Emma's phone had last pinged. "We're checking the areas around the last known location," he radioed. "Keep your eyes open for anything unusual." Hours into the sweep, a glint of metal caught a hiker's eye by a secluded creek. "I think I found something," came the call over the radio. The team rushed over. Lying in the grass was a silver bracelet, engraved with E.J. Emma's initials. Each discovery pulled a new thread in the mystery, but instead of closure, it only deepened the questions. Back at the command center, tension buzzed through the room. Ranger Hall leaned over the map, tapping the new find. "This was near a creek. That means she was close. We need to know why." Detective Miller narrowed his eyes. "And why she may have left her gear behind." Later that night, Ranger Hall returned to Alex's apartment, more determined than ever. "We need to know everything," he said. "Did Emma mention anyone else? Someone she might have planned to meet?" Alex hesitated, looking away. "There was one other person, a guy named Jake. They hiked together a few times." Under the cover of moonlight, flashlights danced through the woods as search teams combed deeper terrain. The mountains whispered, the wind carried secrets, and the shadows were starting to speak. That same night, Hall arrived at Jake's apartment. The door opened to reveal a rugged young man, dark circles under his eyes. "We need to talk about Emma Johnson," said Hall. "What do you know?" Jake stared into the distance. "She was an amazing hiker. I didn't think she'd go out alone." At the command center, the full team gathered. A whiteboard now held dozens of photos and notes. Emma's face, bright and adventurous, watched them from every corner. "Let's retrace her steps," said Ranger Turner, "and figure out who else was in the area that day." The next day, the team returned to the wild. Pushing through thick forest, they scanned the ground, calling her name. Then, a rustle. "Did you hear that?" one searcher whispered into the radio. They stepped forward carefully, parting the underbrush. There, tucked beneath branches, was a small, weathered journal. Ranger Hall lifted it gently, flipping through the pages. "This looks like Emma's handwriting." The early entries were full of wonder, trail descriptions, little sketches, joy. But toward the back, her tone changed. Words grew frantic, disjointed, uneasy. That night, the team pored over the journal under harsh fluorescent lights. Ranger Hall read the last line aloud. "She mentioned feeling watched," he said quietly. "What could have scared her?" The camera pulled back to the endless darkness of the Teton wilderness, leaves whispering in the wind, as if the mountains themselves were holding their breath. The question now wasn't where Emma went. It was, what found her? Back on the trail, the team circled around a makeshift table. Emma's journal lay open. Her final entry sent a chill through every spine. "I can hear footsteps behind me. I'm not alone." The room fell silent. Ranger Turner broke it. "We need to figure out who or what she was afraid of." The map lit up again with new markers, new theories. "We should focus on the creek," said Detective Miller, "and check if any locals reported anything strange." That lead took Ranger Hall to a quiet corner of town, a weathered old diner where conversations still traveled faster than news. As he stepped through the door, the bell above jingled softly. The smell of coffee and bacon lingered in the air. Curious eyes turned his way. He approached the counter. "I'm looking for anyone who might have seen Emma Johnson or noticed anything unusual around the trails last summer," he said to the waitress. She paused, thinking. "I remember the commotion," she replied. "People were talking about a strange guy seen lurking near the trails." Hall leaned forward. "Can you describe him?" Later, in a quieter corner of the diner, she lowered her voice. "Scruffy hair, always in a dark hoodie, never spoke much, just off. A ghost in the woods, really." Meanwhile, deep in the wilderness, the search team pressed on. Near the underbrush, one of the searchers paused. "I found something," came the call over the radio. Everyone rushed over, snagged on a low branch, a torn strip of fabric, faded but unmistakable. It matched the color of Emma's hiking gear. "This could be a clue," said Ranger Turner. "Let's bag it and send it to the lab." At the forensic lab, specialists compared the fabric to Emma's belongings. Under magnification, the patterns were identical. "It's definitely hers," the technician confirmed. "We might be onto something." With renewed urgency, Ranger Hall's team camped near the creek, determined to retrace every step Emma might have taken. As night fell, tension settled over the forest like a fog. "Keep your eyes and ears open," Hall instructed the team. "If Emma encountered something, we might find it tonight." The group huddled around a small fire. Stories were shared to ease the weight. But Hall's gaze stayed fixed on the tree line. "You think we'll find her?" asked Turner. Hall didn't hesitate. "We have to believe we will. We owe it to her." Elsewhere that same night, Alex and Jake sat in silence. The tension between them was thick. "You were the last person she hiked with," said Alex. "Did you notice anything strange?" Jake shook his head slowly. "No, but I heard rumors about that guy in the hoodie." Emma was cautious, but she was excited. She wouldn't have gone unprepared. Back at the campsite, just past midnight, the silence shattered. A faint rustling in the bushes. Hall froze. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. Suddenly, a figure burst from the shadows, sprinting through the trees. "Go, go, go!" Turner shouted. Flashlights cut through the forest as the team gave chase. Branches snapped. Feet pounded the ground. "Stop! We just want to talk!" Hall called into the dark. But the figure disappeared, swallowed by the night. All that remained was the sound of heavy breathing and the forest settling once more. Later, breathless and shaken, the team regrouped at camp. "Who was that?" Turner asked. "Did anyone see their face?" Hall shook his head. "No, but we need to alert the others. This could be tied to Emma." At dawn, the command center filled once again, this time with a new kind of urgency. "Set up surveillance around the area," Hall ordered. "If that person's connected to Emma, we cannot let them vanish again." Back at Alex's apartment, he and Jake spread out maps and photos. "What if that guy is the key?" Alex said. "We need to find him." Jake sighed. "But how? We don't even know where to look." The team launched a network of trail cameras, covering every path Emma might have taken. Turner studied the maps. "Let's cover all her possible routes," he said. "Every last one." That night, the command center dimmed as they reviewed hours of footage. Most screens showed nothing but trees and animals, until one monitor flickered. A figure appeared, darting between trees, hood up, moving stealthily. Ranger Hall leaned in. "Is that—" Detective Miller's voice followed. "It looks like the guy from the diner." They froze. "We need to identify him now." Night had fallen over Grand Teton National Park, but inside the command center, no one was resting. The grainy footage of a hooded figure on the trail had set everything into motion. "Let's move quickly," said Ranger Hall. "We can't let him get away." The team grabbed their gear and fanned out into the woods. But just as they entered the tree line, a sound stopped them cold. A faint voice, distant but unmistakable. "Did you hear that?" Turner asked. They froze. The voice called again, pleading for help. "It's coming from over there," Hall said, already moving. Through the trees they spotted it, an abandoned cabin long forgotten by time. The voice was louder now, desperate. "Stay alert," Hall warned. "We don't know what we're walking into." Inside, dust floated in the beam of their flashlights. Every floorboard creaked underfoot. "Emma," Turner called softly. "Are you in here?" Then, a crash, from the back room. "Go," Hall ordered. They rushed in and stopped cold. Tied to a chair, face pale and trembling, was Emma Johnson, alive. "Emma!" Hall cried, rushing to untie her. "It's you!" She gasped, eyes wide with disbelief. "I thought no one would find me." But saving her was only the beginning. As Hall freed her, the true horror of what had happened in those mountains began to surface. "Emma, are you all right?" Hall asked. "What happened?" Her voice shook. "I was camping, and someone took me. I didn't see their face." Outside, the team remained on high alert. The forest around them stirred again. Leaves rustled in the dark. "We need to secure the area," Turner said. "If someone else is out there, we can't let them get away." Inside the cabin, Emma sat on the floor, still in shock. "I thought I was being followed," she whispered. "I panicked and ran. I didn't know I was so far off the trail." Meanwhile, in the woods, Ranger Turner caught movement in the trees. "I think I see someone," he radioed. He moved silently through the underbrush, creeping closer to a shadowy figure just ahead. "Stop right there!" he shouted. The figure turned and bolted. Turner gave chase. Back inside the cabin, Emma tried to explain what had happened. "I heard voices outside. Then they grabbed me. I tried to run, but they were too strong." In the forest, the chase intensified. Branches whipped past Turner's face. The figure weaved wildly, but stumbled. They hit the ground hard. Turner pounced. He rolled the man over and pulled back the hood. A scruffy, wild-eyed stranger stared back. "You're not going anywhere," Turner growled. "Who are you?" Back in the cabin, Hall remained at Emma's side. "Did you see their face?" he asked gently. "Anything at all?" Emma blinked slowly, tears in her eyes. "Just the hoodie and the voice." It was low, menacing. Meanwhile, Turner cuffed the hooded man, pressing him to the forest floor. "You're under arrest," he said firmly. "What did you do to Emma Johnson?" The man stayed silent, but his eyes flickered, almost proud. Inside the cabin, Emma's voice steadied just long enough to deliver one more piece of the puzzle. "I heard them talking about a plan, something about the mountains. They wanted to scare me." The wind cut through the Grand Teton woods as Ranger Turner dragged the hooded man back toward the cabin. "You're going to tell us everything," he said, voice like steel. Inside, Ranger Hall stood waiting, eyes locked on the suspect. "What's your name?" he asked. The man just smirked. "You really think this changes anything?" Outside, the search team set up a secure perimeter around the cabin. No one in, no one out. Hall leaned in. "Are you working alone? Or are there more of you?" Turner stepped closer, fists clenched. "We know you took her. You're going to cooperate." But the man's voice turned low and cold. "You have no idea what you're up against." The camera panned out, dark peaks towering above, the mountains silent and watching. Whatever truth they were closing in on, it was far from over. Inside the cabin, Hall turned back to Emma, who was huddled in the corner. "We're going to get you out of here," he promised, "but we need to understand what happened." Emma's eyes were full of fear. "Please, I don't want to go back there." Out in the woods, the search team kept moving, checking for signs of the suspect's camp. "They must have stashed something nearby," Turner radioed in. Back in the cabin, Turner had had enough. "Why were you after Emma?" he demanded. "What did she ever do to you?" The hooded man's response was icy. "She was just in the wrong place at the wrong time." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from deep in the trees. The team froze. "What was that?" Hall asked, eyes wide. Outside, flashlights swept through the woods. Then, a figure darted between the trees. "We've got another one," Turner shouted into his radio. Inside, Emma flinched at the sound of commotion. "Please, don't let them get away," she whispered. The team moved fast. Turner sprinted through the forest, branches whipping across his face. "Stop! You're surrounded," he called out. In a clearing, the figure ducked behind a tree, breathing hard. Turner caught up, reached out, and grabbed the runner's arm. "Who are you? Why were you running?" The figure turned. It was Alex, panting, shaken. "I heard everything," he gasped. "I came to help." Back at the cabin, Hall looked at Emma. "Do you know him?" She hesitated. "Yeah, but why are you here, Alex?" Moments later, Turner and Alex re-entered the cabin. "I couldn't sit back and do nothing," Alex said. "I had to find you." Hall looked at him, half grateful, half suspicious. "You should have waited for backup. This isn't safe." Outside, the search team regrouped. Tension hung thick in the air. "We need to get Emma out of here," Turner said. "Back to command. No risks." But inside, the hooded man began to laugh. Low. Eerie. Everyone turned. "You think you can protect her," he said. "It's already too late." The room fell silent. "What do you mean it's too late?" Hall demanded. The man smiled, eyes glinting with something dangerous. "You're all playing a game you can't win. She's already marked." Outside, the team prepped for extraction. Emma was still shaking. "What does he mean?" she whispered. "What's going to happen to me?" Hall knelt beside her. "We're here to protect you. Just stay close." And with that, they moved. Emma surrounded by flashlights and weapons. The team stepped into the shadows of the forest, hearts pounding. "Stay alert," Turner said. "We can't let our guard down." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the trees. The team froze. Every breath held. Every light turned toward the darkness. "What was that?" Ranger Turner asked, tightening his grip on the radio. "Let's check it out," Hall replied. They moved fast, flashlights slicing through the dark. Branches snapped. Then, a faint cry for help. Back in the cabin, the hooded man watched with a sinister grin. "They're walking into a trap," he muttered. "They'll never find her in time." But in the woods, the team pushed on. They broke into a small clearing, and there, tied to a tree, was a young man, his face bloodied, breath shallow. "What happened to you?" Turner asked, kneeling beside him. "I was camping nearby," the young man gasped. "They caught me when I saw them taking her." Hall quickly cut him loose. "Can you walk?" The young man nodded, terrified. "Yes, but they're still out there." The team turned back toward the park's main trail, Emma in tow, the young man limping beside them. But something was wrong. They weren't alone. In the trees ahead, shadows moved. Figures began to emerge, faces hidden, shapes unclear, but unmistakably human. They were surrounded. "Stay close together," Hall warned. Emma's grip tightened around his arm. Then a tall figure stepped forward, a black hoodie masking everything but his eyes, which gleamed under the beam of light. "You shouldn't have come here," he said coldly. "Now you'll all pay the price." Back in the cabin, the hooded man chuckled. Everything was falling into place. Turner didn't flinch. "We're not afraid of you," he said. "Let her go." The man sneered. "You think you can intimidate us? You have no idea what you're dealing with." Emma whispered, "What are we going to do?" Tension crackled in the air. "This is your last chance," the leader said. "Walk away, or face the consequences." Hall stood tall. "We're not leaving without Emma." Suddenly, a flash of lightning lit up the clearing. Dozens of figures emerged from the shadows. There were more than anyone had expected. Inside the cabin, the hooded man leaned back. "It's all going according to plan," he whispered. Outside, Turner raised a hand. His team stood ready. "On my count," he said. 3, 2, 1, go." Chaos erupted. The team surged forward. Fists flew. Lights spun. Emma screamed, huddling behind a tree. "No, don't hurt them." In the chaos, Hall spotted the leader slipping into the trees. "I'm going after him," he barked into the radio. Hall tore through the underbrush, chasing the figure deeper into the woods. Behind him, the fight raged on. Turner wrestled one of the figures to the ground, ripping off their hood. A familiar face. "Alex's friend?" Turner said, shocked. "Why are you involved in this?" The man spat defiantly. "You don't understand the bigger picture." Then, gunshots, distant but clear. The forest went still. "Everyone regroup!" Turner shouted. "We need to get out of here, now!" Farther ahead, Hall tackled the leader to the ground. "Why are you doing this?" he demanded. The man only smiled. "You'll find out soon enough." Turner, still breathless, dragged his captive to his feet. "What's your plan? What are you trying to achieve?" The leader looked him dead in the eye. "This is just the beginning," he said. "You have no idea what's coming next." Night fell heavy over Grand Teton Park. But the danger hadn't passed. As the team regrouped, a new sound echoed through the trees. Sirens. Reinforcements were coming. "We need to hold our ground until backup arrives," Ranger Turner called out, scanning the darkness. Somewhere in the woods, hidden beneath the trees, the hooded man watched. and smiled. Relief came with the approaching officers, but no one could shake the feeling this wasn't over. "Stay sharp," Hall warned. "We're not out of this yet." Because in these woods, not everyone was who they claimed to be. The search team tightened ranks. The air buzzed with tension as more flashlights danced through the undergrowth. "Backup's almost here," Turner said over the radio. "Hold your position." The leader, still restrained, remained defiant. His voice low but full of warning. "You'll find out soon enough," he smirked. "This is just a taste of what's to come." More officers arrived, flashlights slicing the dark. "What's the situation?" Officer Jones called in. "We've got a suspect," Turner replied, "connected to Emma Johnson's disappearance." Inside the abandoned cabin, the hooded man stood silently at the window, watching. "They won't understand," he whispered. "Not until it's too late." Ranger Hall turned to Turner. "We need to search the cabin," he said. "There might be more we've missed." They moved in carefully, flashlights sweeping across cracked floorboards and warped walls. Dust hung thick in the air. Everything was still. Then, something. In the back room, maps, dozens of them, but these weren't ordinary trail maps. "They're marked," Officer Jones said. "These aren't hiking routes, they're planning something." Outside, the leader gave nothing, but his smirk deepened. "You think you can stop us? We're just getting started." Back inside the cabin, another discovery. A hidden compartment. Inside, photos of Emma, of other hikers, some missing, some still out there. "They were targeting them," Hall whispered, "one by one." Tension spiked as more officers secured the perimeter. "We need more units," Jones radioed in. "This isn't random, it's organized." Then, boom! A distant explosion tore through the quiet. The ground shook, lights flickered, officers staggered. "What the hell was that?" Turner barked. The leader laughed, manic and proud. "You're too late," he said. "It's already begun." Hall rushed outside. Everyone scrambled. "We need to move. Figure out what just happened." Then they saw it. Smoke. In the distance, a fire burning near one of the trails. "Could be a distraction," Hall warned. "We check it anyway." The team reached the site. A makeshift camp, supplies, blankets, food packs. Someone had been living here, planning something long-term. "They were using this as a base," Jones muttered. Then, more rustling. Turner turned, weapon raised. "Show yourself." From the shadows, Alex, disheveled, panicked. "You have to help," he cried. "They've taken more hikers." A silence fell. Then, questions. "How many?" Hall asked. Alex shook his head. "I don't know. I saw them dragging people into the woods." Turner's face hardened. "We split up. Search every trail. Stay in contact." Flashlights scattered through the woods. Every noise could be a clue, or a threat. Back at the cabin, the hooded man smiled wider. "Let the games begin." Hall and Officer Jones crept through the underbrush, every step deliberate, every shadow a question. Then, another camp, abandoned, still warm. "They were just here," Jones said. Suddenly, muffled cries. Hall froze, signaled for silence, then motioned to follow. "I hear something, this way." The cries led them to a hidden cave, concealed by brush and stone. Inside, the walls were damp, the air thick and stale. But the sounds were clearer now. Voices. Crying. "They're in here," Jones said. Outside, the rest of the team arrived, formed a line, prepared to breach. "If they're in there," Turner warned, "we can't let them escape." Deeper inside, the flashlight beams hit something. Faces, hikers, bound, terrified. "We're here to help," Hall shouted. "You're safe now." But outside, the leader's group was already moving, gear in hand, plans intact. "We leave now," the leader growled, "before they realize what's next." Inside the cave, Hall cut the last ropes. A hiker clung to his arm. "Thank you," she whispered. "We thought we were going to die." Then, a sound, Footsteps. Fast. The enemy was coming. "Get out of here," Turner yelled. "We'll hold them off." The team formed a barrier, flashlights in one hand, weapons in the other. The leader emerged from the trees, face lit by firelight, eyes burning. "You think you can protect them?" he hissed. "You have no idea what we're capable of." Inside the cold, damp cave, a dozen hikers huddled together, ropes cut, but terror still clung to their faces. "Stay low and stay quiet," Ranger Hall instructed. "We'll handle this." But outside, chaos had already begun. At the cave entrance, the leader of the group charged forward, his eyes filled with fire. Ranger Turner stepped into the fray, flashlight raised. "This is your last warning," he warned. "Turn back now." The leader just laughed and raised his hand. Suddenly, shadowy figures burst from the woods. "Get ready," Hall called out as fists clenched and hearts raced. The two groups collided in a storm of violence. Shouts echoed, flashlights flared. The forest became a battleground. "We need backup now," Turner barked into his radio. Back inside the cave, the hikers trembled as the sounds of struggle surrounded them. One of them, a young woman, turned to the others. "We have to help them," she whispered. "We can't just sit here." Outside, Ranger Hall held the line. He fought with every ounce of resolve. "Stay strong," he yelled. "We're not letting them through." And then, sirens. Their piercing wail sliced through the night. Help had finally arrived. "Reinforcements incoming," Turner called. "Hold your positions." The leader froze, just for a moment. Then panic crept into his face. "We need to retreat. Now," he shouted to his followers. They turned to run, fading into the forest like smoke. But the Rangers were not letting them go without a fight. "Don't let them escape," Hall shouted. "Move!" As the enemy fled, Turner gave chase, weaving through thick brush and low-hanging limbs. Police cruisers arrived, doors flung open. Local officers poured out, ready to join the pursuit. "What's the situation?" Officer Jones asked, already gripping his radio. Back inside the cave, the rescued hikers scrambled to their feet, rallying behind the Rangers. "We're with you," one said. "Let's stop them." The tables had turned. The hunted were now hunting. Turner pressed on through the dark, pushing deeper into the forest. Every step was a race. "Don't let them split up," he commanded over the radio. Then he spotted something, a figure running toward a ridge. "I see him," Turner reported. "He's heading for the ridge." At the edge of the trees, the leader stumbled onto open ground. Turner was right behind him. "You think you've won?" The leader spat, chest heaving. "This is just the beginning." And then he vanished, swallowed by the shadows. "No!" Turner cried. "Come back!" But it was too late. The man was gone. Back at the cave, officers checked on the hikers. "Are you all right?" "We thought we were going to die," one said, still shaking. Ranger Hall returned, his breath heavy, his eyes burning with resolve. "We need to regroup," he said. "They won't stop until they get what they came for." The team huddled outside the cave, flashlights casting wide circles of light. "We track them down," Turner said, "before they strike again." But they weren't alone, hidden in the trees. The hooded man watched, his grin cold, his eyes empty. Back at the cabin, he paced like a chess master, plotting his next move. "They may have won this round," he muttered, "but the game is far from over." Back in the woods, Ranger Hall stood tall. "Split into teams," he ordered. "Search every path, every trail. We don't stop until they're found." The team nodded, each face set with purpose. They had uncovered a dark plan, a network hidden in the mountains, a plot that stretched beyond anything they'd prepared for. On a nearby ridge, Ranger Turner led his team upward, eyes scanning, every noise suspect, every shadow threatening. In the shadows of the Grand Tetons, the final stand was coming. "Stay sharp," Ranger Turner warned. "We need to find their hideout." And not far from the search teams, inside a cave deep in the woods, hidden from view, the leader and his loyal followers prepared for war. "They'll come for us," he said, cold and certain. "We need to be ready." Out in the trees, Ranger Hall's group crept through the underbrush, flashlights slicing through darkness. Every rustle could be danger, Every shadow could be death. "We'll search every inch of these woods if we have to," Hall declared. Inside the cave, the enemy was already moving. Weapons were loaded, supplies packed, eyes focused. "They think they can stop us?" the leader hissed. "We'll show them the true power of the mountains." But the Rangers weren't backing down. Not now. The teams closed in, one moving toward a ridge, another following a narrow path spotted by Officer Jones. "This could lead somewhere," Jones whispered. "Let's check it out," Hall replied. The noose was tightening, and the enemy knew it. "Prepare the trap," the leader ordered. "We'll lure them in, take them out one by one." Signs of a struggle soon appeared. Broken branches, discarded gear. "They camped here," Hall muttered, jaw tight. From the mouth of the cave, the leader watched, eyes narrowed, smile thin. "They're coming," he said. "Get ready." The Rangers slowed their approach. Something was off. Too quiet, too still. "Everyone, hold your positions," Hall instructed, voice low. "We're close." Inside the cave, the leader whispered to his men, "No mercy." Then it began. An ambush. From the trees, attackers erupted, descending like wolves. Screams and shouts pierced the night. "Ambush!" Hall shouted. "Get ready!" The forest exploded into violence, flashlights flashing wildly, bodies colliding in the dark. Ranger Turner fought back with everything he had. Every movement was survival. "We need backup now," he barked into his radio. The leader stood at the cave's edge, watching it all unfold, smiling. This is just the beginning. But the Rangers were far from finished. Hall regrouped quickly, spotting a familiar silhouette. The hikers. Still bound. Still trapped. "Protect the hikers," he yelled. Turner pushed forward, fighting off an attacker, determined to reach them. "We're almost there. Keep fighting." The leader wasn't done. He charged, straight for Ranger Hall. "You won't save anyone," he snarled. They collided in a brutal struggle, fists flying in the dark. "You're not going to win this," Hall growled. At last, Turner reached the hostages, cutting ropes, urging them to safety. "You're safe now," he said. "Follow me." Back at the fight, Hall stumbled, the leader landing a hard punch. "Go!" Turner shouted to the hikers. "Get to safety." Hall recovered, delivered a crushing blow. The leader staggered back, dazed. "You're finished," Hall snapped. But then, a glint of steel. The leader drew a knife, desperation burning in his eyes. "You think you've won?" he growled. "This isn't over." In a blur, Turner tackled him. The knife clattered to the ground. "You're done," Turner said, pinning him down. Hall stood over them, chest heaving, eyes cold. "You'll answer for what you've done." The remaining attackers fled, the forest swallowing them whole. "Let them go," Hall said. "Secure the area, check on the hikers." The teams regrouped, bloodied, exhausted, but alive. "Are you all right?" Turner asked. "We're safe now," one hiker whispered, trembling. And as the first light of dawn crept over the peaks of the Grand Tetons, the forest stood quiet, but not at peace. "We've got a lot of work to do," Hall said, watching the sun rise. "Let's make sure this never happens again." Dawn broke over the Grand Tetons, but the light did little to ease the weight of the night before. In the woods, the search team gathered, exhausted, battered, but relieved. "Let's make sure everyone is accounted for," Ranger Hall said, glancing at the freed hikers. "We need to get you to safety." Not far off, Ranger Turner checked over the group of survivors. They were bruised, shaken, but alive. "Did they hurt you?" he asked one of them. "We're just glad to be free," she whispered. But the danger wasn't gone, not even close. "The leader and his group are still out there," Hall told his team. "We need to regroup fast." Back at the command center, the atmosphere was a storm of tension. Local authorities, media, all waiting for answers. Ranger Hall stepped to the mic. "We've rescued the hikers," he said, "but there are still threats in these woods." Inside, Turner reviewed everything they had: maps, photos, evidence of something far more coordinated. "This wasn't random," he muttered. "They're planning something bigger." Outside, the press swarmed, hungry for answers. "Who are they?" one reporter asked. Why are they targeting hikers? Hall's response was measured but firm. We're still identifying the individuals involved, but know this, we're not stopping until everyone is safe. Then came a discovery, a photo of the leader, with others. This is a larger operation, Turner said grimly, and we need to find the rest of them. That afternoon the search teams mobilized again, this time with precision. We'll set up surveillance, Hall said. We're going to hit their hiding places before they hit again. In a secluded area deep in the forest, the leader and his group regrouped. Rage burned in his eyes. They won't stop us, he growled. We'll make them pay. The Rangers split into strike teams, small, tactical, no room for error. Stay alert, Turner radioed in. Report anything suspicious. The leader, meanwhile, was plotting his next move. They think they've won, he spat to his followers. They have no idea what's coming. Then came a break. Ranger Hall's team found new trails, marked on one of the maps, routes leading to potential attack sites. We have to warn everyone, Hall said. They could strike again, and soon. At the command center, urgency filled the air. Everyone leaned in as Turner briefed the room. They're targeting specific locations, he explained. We need to increase patrols immediately. He looked over at the rescued hikers, still shaken, still afraid. You're safe now, Hall said gently, and we'll keep it that way. Then, another tip. A local man approached Turner, nervous but serious. I saw something, he said, near the old ranger station. You might want to check it out. The building was run down, overgrown, but inside, signs of recent life. Discarded food, makeshift beds, movement. They've been here, Turner whispered. Hall followed a trail just outside the station. We're going deeper, he said. This might lead us to their main camp. The trail led to a clearing, hidden, remote, and full of evidence, tents, supplies, even more maps. They're planning more attacks, Turner muttered, holding one of the documents. We need to act fast. Then, movement, rustling in the woods. Hall raised a hand. Everyone freeze. They watched, silent, as two of the leader's followers emerged, completely unaware of the trap waiting for them. We move on my count, Hall said. 3, 2, 1, now. Chaos. The team lunged from their hiding spots. The forest exploded into another fight. Hall tackled one. Turner subdued the other. We can't let them warn the others, Turner shouted. The rest tried to flee, but Hall and Turner were already in pursuit. They pinned one of the followers, desperate for answers. Where's the leader? Hall demanded. What are his plans? The captive spat back. You'll never stop him. He's too powerful. Turner pressed harder. Tell us where he is or you'll regret it. The fight for the Tetons was far from over. The attacks weren't random. The disappearances weren't isolated. Something much larger was at play. And while the Rangers had taken back some ground, the war for the mountain had only just begun. The sun slipped beneath the mountains, but darkness wasn't just coming, it was already here. Deep in the Grand Tetons, the leader had summoned his loyalists, a remote quarry, a growing crowd. They think they can control us, he shouted, but tonight we take back what's ours. And they believed him, locals, drifters, true believers, all rallying around the promise of defiance. We rise tonight, the leader bellowed. We fight back. Back at the command center, the Rangers prepared for war. They knew this gathering wasn't a protest, it was a powder keg. We need to move smart, Ranger Hall warned. They can't see us coming. Turner led the intel team, mapping the terrain, identifying possible escape routes. They're on edge, he said. One wrong move and it goes up in flames. Meanwhile, at the quarry, the crowd surged, chanting, cheering, fueled by fear, by fury, by the leader's voice. They've tried to silence us, he cried out, but we will not be broken. And then the flare. It sliced through the sky like a warning shot. Tonight, he screamed, we make our mark. Ranger Turner, into radio. That's it, we move now. All around the quarry, movement. The Rangers burst from the tree line, strategic, coordinated, surrounding the camp like a tightening noose. "This is over," Turner shouted. "Disperse now." Confusion rippled through the crowd. "Don't listen to them," the leader roared. "They want to control you. Fight!" "You're all in danger," Hall warned. "You need to leave. Now." But the leader wouldn't back down. He raised the flare higher, defiant. "We will not be silenced." Turner surged forward, trying to reach him, but the crowd shifted, blocking his path. "Move!" he shouted. The quarry was seconds from tipping into chaos, and in the center of it all, the leader, still standing, still calling for war. In the heart of the mountains, a battle line had been drawn, between control and collapse, between order and anarchy. And as the crowd surged, the fate of the Grand Tetons and those who protected them hung by a thread, because the flare had been lit, and the forest was listening. If you believe in protecting the innocent, if you stand with those who fight in the shadows to bring justice to light, we need your voice. Like this video, subscribe to Unraveled Crime, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Every click, every share, every voice helps shine a light into places some would rather keep hidden. We'll be back soon, with the next chapter in the search for the truth, right here on Unraveled Crime.